Hey everybody,
Hi everyone.
it's May.
May. Springtime.
Yes. And here we are right this minute in Laurelhurst Park in Portland.
Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
Beautiful day. As always, a beautiful city. You know, you, like us, may have heard a lot in the media about Portland being on the ash heap of crime and chaos. And, there are some issues that they're dealing with, like all cities. But no, it's beautiful. People are vibrant and happy, and it's great to be back in this very creative community.
It's also quite something for me, and I think for you too, when we first got here almost a week ago, just to see so much green.
Yeah.
Because many of you will have had green in your lives, maybe all winter even, but we've been in white for so long.
Yeah.
And while that's beautiful too, it's just wonderful to see the green and the color in the flowers.
Oh, the color in the flowers everywhere. It's just breathtaking. So anyway, May, what are we thinking about?
This month we are following up on last month, where we talked about the difference between transaction and transformation, and which kind of relationships is the natural world really in most, and what does that mean for who and how we are. We're following up on that and had another kind of out there idea, and it's and the idea is intradependency, meaning within. And curious about what would it mean for all of us to think first, not as parts, interdependent parts of a whole, which we are, of course, but as intradependent, meaning it's kind of hard to wrap our heads around. So we really look forward to talking with you about it and thinking about it more, meaning that we are within one whole, and we are both dependent. We are dependent on that because we are within it. Like the cells in our body depend on every other bit of our body to pull off what they do. Sort of like that.
Yeah.
What else do you think?
Well, and those cells, as the body at large, depends on microorganisms that are not human cells. They came to live with us, and they're in us all right now. More micro cells than human cells, in fact, in each of us, releasing nutrients to our brain, our muscles, our vital organs, and without them we would not be able to live. So it's this symbiosis that's going on within each of us, and that's the kind of interdependence. Those microorganisms depend on us, and we depend on them, and that kind of mutuality exists within individual organisms. And we've kind of thought back to the Gaia principle, and we can get into that a little bit more. The planet in some ways can be thought of that way, as this overarching organism that depends on many interior relationships. So intradependence is reaching inside, interdependence is a reaching out.
And one of the things that has come up in our conversation, just to get perhaps a bit more esoteric, but perhaps not, is that as long as we're talking interdependence and just stop with that, we're hanging on to the separation thinking, that we are separate parts and we are dependent on each other and in relationship with each other as separate parts. And so we've been playing around with this intra notion to really challenge the separate thinking stuff that we've been talking about in full ecology for quite some time.
Yeah, I think interdependence can be thought of as a holistic, or more appropriately, unifying, the unifying force.
Yeah.
And that's probably a perception and a perspective that we would do well to cultivate as we go forward and try to become a people who act proactively for the sake of the earth, the planet, in the face of climate change. That takes a different kind of understanding of the world, and we would argue a more accurate perception of the world than our separation myth has provided us over the last, especially 500 years or so.
So there's another, let's just do a little bit more. The metaphor of interdependence that Gary ran out so well with the human body. You're about to hear some folks coming by because this is a park that's actively loved by Portlanders. But anyway, following up on that metaphor, the metaphor of the human body and how, consider that the body is absolutely dependent on everything in it, and everything in it is absolutely dependent on the body and on every other thing in it. And so there's this weave that is sustaining. And if you extend that metaphor and let it take you to how you are in community, not just human community, but ecological community, then all of us are, in fact, just check this out. All of us are likely intradependent in the same way in these ecologies. And then within each ecology, or each ecology is embedded in something larger, and so on and so forth, out to Gaia, which is something that we are going to look into more in preparation for the deep dive for May. But so extends out to Gaia, and then extends endlessly. So it's an understanding that there is not. There's the rugged individual thing is really,
it's such a fantasy.
Talk about Malawi. Gary was just telling me about some stuff that's happening in Malawi, and it sounds like that is a really good example of intradependence for an entire country.
Well, of course, Malawi is one of many countries being really ravaged by climate change. Sometimes it's drought, sometimes it's an entire year's rain in a few days. And if you're a farmer, and most of the population, 92% of the population of Malawi are farmers, you've really got to get creative. And so what the colonialism taught the Malawi farmers was to plant maize and tobacco in straight rows, use chemical fertilizers and chemical insecticides to get the biggest crop yield, and that worked okay, I guess, for a while, although I would argue it probably didn't do the ecosystem any good. But now, with those monocrops being absolutely not able to survive these extreme events, a lot of the small farmers are just going back to experimenting, and they're planting 6 or 7 or 8 crops. One of the crops may be to shield the soil from the heat. Another crop may be small trees that serve as natural insecticides to keep bugs out of the crops, and they're learning as they go. And perhaps they're rediscovering things that 1,000 years ago their people would have known.
And now we have a siren.
Another
because we
part of the
are
city.
in an urban park. And this is another, just, I'll let it go a little bit. Another real illustration. We people are the natural world in expression. We just are. And that's another thing to check out. Don't believe us, check it out for yourself. But here we are, and we're getting along sometimes okay. Actually, way more times okay than not okay, as it turns out. We get news about all the not okay stuff. But we're just so curious about how these little shifts in understanding ourselves, not as separate, but as absolutely kindred with everything we can see. We're affecting the ground we're standing on, it's affecting us. We're affecting the trees we're around, they're affecting us. It's just, I'm affecting Gary, he's affecting me, we're affecting you. It's just like endless, the way that we are always in intradependence.
And likely in ways science is discovering that we never anticipated, as far as the kinds of pheromones we're giving off to one another, what we're picking up, and how that makes us react certain ways that are beneath conscious thought. But I wanted to go back just a minute to the Malawi story, because that's another great example, as intradependence can be a good example of the power, even among a single, let's say, self-contained organism, of diversity.
Right.
These people are basically not only going with plants that are native, including plants to control flood zones and things like that, but they're saying, okay, I'm not going to be a farmer that raises 1 crop or 2. I'm going to be a farmer that raises 7, because those 7 get together and support each other within the field in an interdependent way. We would say that makes everything stronger. And that return to relationship and interdependence, that is not a lesson that we as humans should be avoiding either, including the inclusion and the embracing of people who think differently, act differently, look differently, have different preferences than we do, because we're at our best when we've got the greatest kind of diversity possible.
Absolutely, and that's what's going on right around us right now. right around us, and really all the time that diversity is going on.
Yeah.
And I just had this thought, which is a bit, well, it doesn't matter. I just had this thought of each of us the chances were so slim that any of us showed up on this planet. But we started as a single cell that connected, two single cells that connected with each other, and then started diversifying. And we were entirely dependent on the womb. We weren't even wees. We were just this biological material that was doing this thing that out of some unspeakable intelligence it knew just how to do. Entirely intradependent,
right.
The whole process. And so I think the more we consider this, the more we understand the truth of it and the beauty of it. And so then the question and the invitation to all of us, to all of you listening, and to all of us as human beings, is to ask that question: who are we really? And what is it that we are really doing here? Well, we're here in relationship from beginning to end, and we don't often act that way. Always
I
act
love
that way.
you referencing yet again back to the body and starting as a single cell, because what if there was an argument among the cells differentiating where the bone cell would say, well, I'm more important than you as a blood cell.
Right.
Well, no, that doesn't work. You can't dissect a portion of a human and lay it out there and expect it to live. It's a unified biology.
Or I am the bone cell saying, yeah, I get it. I'm dependent with you. So I really want more. I want more of you.
Yeah.
It's
And we are stronger together.
No,
clearly,
we are.
Than apart.
And in balance.
I want to say one last thing. We are very excited. I am very excited because Mary is in Portland in part to receive a very big honor for a program that she started 27 years ago to empower girls, that now has grown into what's called the Girls Inc. network, which is a major network across the United States that serves thousands and thousands of girls to help them know who they are and to claim their truth and to grow into their capacity and potential. And she's getting honored for her fundamental foundational role in that program. And I'm proud of her, and I know a lot of other people in that field are proud of her too.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was good work. It was very fledgling stuff 27 years ago, and then 25 years ago, we went off on our own from the college that I was affiliated with. And after we got 501c3 status, after that, and now the Girls Inc. of the whole country has asked, I guess about 7 years ago, for it to be part of their organization. But they're remembering their roots, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. So we're going to be deep diving on
the 9th of May at 6 o'clock Mountain Time. So we hope you will join us and help us think about this intradependence. It's hard to say.
It is.
Intradependence idea. And then we've still got a few openings, and we really encourage you to check out the writing retreat that we're doing in the Centennial Valley. That's coming up here. You can check our website if you haven't, fullyecology.com.
Yes.
And you can always be in touch with us at connect@fullyecology.com.
And you who are writers, no matter what stage in that journey you're at, beginning, middle, or more advanced, this is going to be a very, very exciting workshop. I've been teaching writing workshops around the country and even in different countries for about 25 years. And this has the advantage of Mary being along and bringing the full ecology notion. So you're not only learning the craft of writing, but you're also widening your perception and perspective of the world. And of course that energizes and gives you new eyes with which to see things that are really worth writing about. And in that beautiful wilderness valley, Centennial Valley, you'll just have a hard time not just being, as the Brits would say, gobsmacked every single morning.
That's an understatement, actually. Yeah. All right. Well, have a good May. Thank you all for the way that you are investigating the fullness of your ecology. And we will look forward to being in touch next month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Happy spring.
Bye for now.